A very warm welcome to AFarmers Media. Of course, today's show is Ask the Expert, where we bring different experts where we can learn, connect, and grow. So on today's conversation, we want to talk about the changing climate. And of course, once you talk about the changing climate, the future of farming is controlled environment. And what best to talk about in controlled environment than a greenhouse? In our conversation today, we have our resident analyst and also who is a 15-year you have 15 years experience.
Oh, I thought you were saying I'm 15 years old.
No, actually, no one as is in the building.
Yes.
You're going to share with us your experience with greenhouses.
Yes.
And I'll ask you this question. How long have you used greenhouses so far?
This is my 8th year.
Your 8th year?
Yes.
What are we reporting home?
Nothing important. Yes, it is good, but it has so many challenges, number one, but also it's not for everyone. Yes, greenhouse farming is not for everyone because you also need to know the area. Why greenhouse? You know, it's not just a greenhouse. It has to be, why do you need a greenhouse?
Yes.
It's like the same way, why do you need to wear gumboots?
Interesting.
Okay, because it's not necessarily that you're on your farm that you need to wear gumboots.
Yeah.
Probably it's only when it's muddy or, so stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So 8 years ago, when you sourced for greenhouse and decided to walk through that journey.
Yes.
What were your expectations?
My expectations were what was being sold. Greenhouse farming was actually being sold as the ultimate, the money-making, money-changing way of farming. It came with hybrid seeds, fertilizer, but with very little training. Yes. So it was a scenario where even if you have the best car and you don't know how to use it, it will not serve you well.
Okay. Are you trying to say that the invention came, but then there was less information, which right now, 8 years later, you say that, well, there's nothing much to report on?
I wouldn't construct another greenhouse. No.
Why?
Because of where, number one, again, as I said, it depends. You need to ask yourself why the greenhouse. And that is a question that most farmers don't ask. If they ask, they're told that you can be able to harvest tomatoes for 9 months and you'll be able to get 600,000 shillings. It's a lie. It doesn't happen that way. The other thing is that when I say why, it's because, number one, the other thing is the environment. Greenhouse farming is meant to help control, like basically have a controlled environment in terms of rain and stuff like that, but it's not the case. The places where horticulture does really well is hot. That's what the sun needs. So why the greenhouse? It's very important because anything that you do, especially in farming, there's a very important thing that you have to always factor in, the capital expense. Yeah. So you ask yourself, why do you need to invest in a greenhouse for you to farm? And as you do this, you also look at the costs. What are the costs involved in making sure that you have a greenhouse? Yeah. And other factors come in play. So other factors come in the location of your farm. Something else that comes in very, very, very importantly is your soil structure. Things like diseases. Because greenhouse farming is good, but if not done right, you lose out on many things. I lost 6 greenhouses because the location of my farm where we sent somebody to install is a place where there are crosswinds. So one day we just realized that the greenhouses have torn in pieces.
Wow. How much was the investment, roughly?
One greenhouse around 350,000. So we lost 6 at a go. Yeah.
Wow.
So those are some of the factors. Not that it is bad. It also depends where you are doing it. When I say where you're doing it, if you're doing it in Western Kenya, if you're doing it in places where there's too much rain, or it's very cold, it's fine. But also ask yourself, the tomato in a greenhouse is the same tomatoes outside. To the person using. Oh yeah. To the end user.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very hard for you to find that this is a tomato. Yeah. The other aspects when it comes to production, things like pollination that makes even the tomatoes probably even sweeter. The greenhouse is also limited in terms of the crops that you can grow. I have seen some people growing even onions and cabbages, but that doesn't, economies of scale doesn't allow that. So mostly it's tomatoes, specific varieties of tomatoes as well, which are not also very cheap. So I say for a common farmer, myself, I wouldn't do that again. I wouldn't say go and construct a greenhouse. No.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're in Kitengela.
Yes.
Right in the middle of where locations of different greenhouse. And some time back we had some big projects being carried by different well, I will say quote unquote real estate
Yes.
agents.
Yes.
And part of it was you can own this greenhouse and
Yes.
do what. But years later, we have nothing to report. That's one of the funniest things. And might that be the reason as to why there was no returns? Or
Brian, we have to be very specific, and that's why I like when I'm talking to farmers, I like being very specific. There are two things that you can do. You are either investing in land or you're investing in farming. You cannot invest in both.
In both?
No. One, the person who's selling you the greenhouse, and if he or she is very sure that there's market, they should actually sign a contract with a buyer when they are selling to you the greenhouse. For the purposes of why should you buy land and then construct a greenhouse for it to be enticing? Is the greenhouse part of the land cost or is it separate? Something else, has this person done this before? And we saw some issues that came up with kind of some of the greenhouses. Most of that was just investing in land. Farmers were investing in land because why would you buy a car for the sake of put it in Uber and you don't have experience even in driving, you have no experience even using a cab before, that would be tricky. So whatever you're investing in, make sure that you're investing in something that has been tried and tested. If somebody's telling you invest in a greenhouse, go and visit some farmers who have actually used greenhouses. They've constructed greenhouses and they're reaping. I have seen more than 10,000 greenhouses across the country that are just skeleton, just the tumors. The pepper is no longer there because the quality is not the same one. The cost of production when it comes to capex, the capital expenses, is too high. Yes.
What would you say are the bare minimums of setting up a greenhouse? What should I consider?
Location. Location. When I talk about location, I mean the weather, because in Kenya, weather is dictated basically by the location that you are in. If you're in Eastern Kenya, it's hot. You don't need to grow. You don't need a greenhouse. Probably you need a shed net. And that's why I'm saying, why do you need a greenhouse? Why do you need a controlled environment? Number one, is it because of heat? Is it because of germination? Is it because of crop management? Is it because of all those factors? So location is very important. If you're doing it in places where it's cold, out of 24 hours, you get 16 hours is cold, then probably you need control, you need a greenhouse. If it's places where 16 hours is hot, like Kitengela, it's hot even at night, why do you need a greenhouse? Okay. The other thing that you need to consider is that greenhouse is controlled, but when it comes to under pest attack, it's the worst. You wake up in the morning and there's whiteflies. In the evening, it's a terrible mess. You wake up, there's tuta absoluta. In 2 days, it's wiped out your crop.
You have an experience?
Yes. That's what I'm saying. No.
Why don't you share? We want to know. Face this camera and tell us what you did.
What happened is this. We grew tomatoes. And these tomatoes were doing really well. We harvested the first and second, I think 2 harvests. And then we were not around. So what happened is that there was an attack, tuta absoluta attack. And when it attacked, in less than a week, we had lost the whole crop. The whole crop.
Wow.
Yes. We lost the crop not because that it was not managed well, but because the heat is the best environment for pests to multiply. Yes. And then to control it becomes a mess. Because you can see, even when it comes to pollination is not done very right. Because you have to either do hand pollination or, on top of this, the wires that go around where they're holding the tomatoes, you have to do it at a specific time every day. So if you forget, you have a problem.
So are you trying to say that greenhouses have, apart from cost implication, labor implication too?
Yes. to some extent when it comes to flowering crops, so it comes to pollination, when it comes to weed management. It is a small area. It can produce more, and you can get better. I mean, a lot more money. But one of the things that you need to make sure that look at the location, and then ask yourself, is it important? The other thing that you also ask yourself is which crop can grow there. It's very limiting. You can either do tomatoes, probably capsicum, probably cucumber, but there are so many crops that you cannot grow. You cannot do cabbages. You can also do everything, yeah, but we look at economies of scale. You can have 1,000 tomatoes in an 8 by 30, 8 meters by 30 greenhouse. It gives you good yields, but you can only do tomatoes for a certain time. But what I'm basically saying is that reduce your capital expenses. Because if you reduce your capital expense, to have a greenhouse now, a proper greenhouse, you need around probably 350,000 shillings. 350,000 shillings is enough for you to grow outside tomatoes 2 seasons.
2 seasons.
An acre.
Yeah, an acre, not
Yes,
a 30 by 80.
exactly.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yes.
Once we talk about alternatives, what do you look as an alternative? Or what did you do with the damaged greenhouses the next season?
I removed the remaining pepper. I removed the metal. I started making small farm structures.
Wow, that's interesting.
But on the flip side, probably what I could say is that you can do it controlled, probably insect net, probably you can do shed net, a certain percentage of shed net, because that way then you can also grow anything.
Yeah.
Yes. So yes, there are alternatives, but also I always tell farmers, check out the capital expenses. If you're starting, you don't need to start with a greenhouse. No. Nobody will know that there's a market. The other thing that also was a challenge is that when we were starting off with the greenhouses, then we were being told, the market does not want tomatoes from the greenhouse because, chemicals, too much chemicals, stuff like that, because of the processing of food is not done in the right way, probably because photosynthesis requires direct sunlight. You find that the tomatoes in the greenhouse are not very sweet. They're not as sweet as the tomatoes from outside. The tomato outside, you can actually even smell the taste, the smell of a tomato.
Yeah.
For the greenhouse, no.
Ah.
Yes.
Well, actually, I did some visit in Kitengela, and I've seen very many quote-unquote startup farms.
Yes.
They start with greenhouses, and the nyanyas are doing so good. And my question has always been, why does it reach a point where farmers wakifika mahali wanakatikiwa tu, they just feel okay, I think there's so much into this.
Yes. You buy a Lamborghini and then you bring it in our roads. The beginning becomes fantastic. You drive, most of the test drives we're told to drive to Namanga.
But they are sold this one so good.
Yes. And you get very few cars, probably the most you get are cows probably. And then you drive back, you start driving within the city, and then you remember that you need to go back home to visit probably your mom or something. Then you remember there's no other car, it's only the Lamborghini. Then you meet a pothole. And then you come out of the pothole, then you come back again, and then the car starts having some issues. So the person who sold to you the car sold to you the new car and told you the advantages of having that car, but they did not teach you how to solve the problems when that car starts facing problems. The same with the greenhouses. Fantastic concept, wrong delivery. So we find that farmers did not have information on what happens 2 years later when the greenhouse on one side started fading or it's torn. What do I do? When there's an insect infestation, what do I do? When it's too hot, what do I do? You need to humidify the greenhouse. What are you humidifying it with? Is it fungicide or is it a special chemical? The drip irrigation system is there. How do you manage the weeds? How do you take care of this crop 6 months later? Yes. So those are some of the challenges that that I face, that farmers are faced as well.
Yes. Once we talk about the greenhouses, the 6 of them that
Yes.
did not do so good.
Yes.
But then you've maintained at least 2,
Yes.
just close to us
Yes.
here.
Yes.
What would you say is the difference?
The location again, it comes to location in terms of where the others were. It was in an open area. It's actually where they were setting up the training center, and they got crosswinds. And so, you know, when you get crosswinds, you cannot do anything about it. But here there are no crosswinds because there are trees around. You know, it's an older model. It's a newer model, newer type of greenhouse. If you look at the type of pepper, the polythene pepper, the one that we use the other side and the one we've used here, this is a heavier gauge, better done, and last longer. Yes.
You want to talk to farmers?
Yes.
I'm a farmer somewhere. I want to try greenhouse, which is part of the controlled environment.
Yes.
But, well, I want some information, not convincing, but I want some information that's gonna be landmarking to me. What do you have to tell farmers?
So I think if you're a farmer and you want to start greenhouse farming, one of the things that you really need to be very careful about is the fact that you need to ask yourself, why do you really need the greenhouse? Are you buying into someone's concept? Have you done your research? How many farmers have you visited who have greenhouses, and they can tell you the story 10 years later? You know, it is heavy investment. It's a heavy capital expense. And being a heavy capital expense, one of the things that you have to factor in is ask yourself, is it worth it? When you're starting out to farm, it's like starting a family. You don't start with a palace. I don't know. You can start if you want. But again, you look at that, it's a risk. Do you have training in managing? Does your farm worker have training in managing, in trellising the tomatoes or the capsicum? All that, you have to factor that in. I'm not saying that it is wrong for you to do it, but if you can start before doing the greenhouses, it is better. Yeah.
No, thank you very much for creating time for us.
Yes.
And we would love to still continue working through
Yes.
this journey of the greenhouses even behind us.
Yes.
And we can also be able to inform our viewers even more. And
Yes.
Thank you very much for creating time.
Asante sana.
This has been Ask the Expert. We have been with the expert Noah Nasiali, who is always just a stone throw away, teaching us his own experience and research too. My name is Brian Manda. A very good afternoon, dear viewer and listener from wherever you're listening and watching us from. This is the AFarmers Farm Drive, of course, here at AFarmers Media with me, Brian Mwanda, and today we have a special guest.
Thank you, Brian.
Uh-huh.
I'm James Mirara.
James Mirara.
I'm back here again.
You're back here again.
Like I never left.
Hey, I never knew about that, but I'm here asking myself this question.
Mm-hmm.
I've interacted with you.
Sure.
You've sold me your eggs, actually.
Yeah.
You're a chicken farmer.
I'm a chicken farmer.
Serious one.
A very serious farmer.
Now, exactly that's why I brought you into this conversation today, because yesterday we did talk about the importance of doing research before starting up your agribusiness venture.
Yeah, sure.
And yesterday we had two ladies here. One has done more of crop farming. They have omepitia,
They have a history.
thick and thin.
Yeah.
And of course, Mercy was here also, who has been doing, who wants to venture into avocado farming.
Yeah, nice.
You see, everything is conceived from a business idea.
Yeah.
And then now you're here, you've done your own, you experienced,
Yeah.
And today we want to talk about, we want to extend the conversation because yesterday we didn't finish it up. Why you need to do proper market, proper research, not just market research, proper research.
Yeah, deep research on whatever you're venturing into.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And of course, people watching and listening can also be part of this conversation by, of course, commenting on the live stream right now, just on the comment section on AFarmers Media on Facebook, AFarmers Media Twitter, AFarmers Media also on YouTube, and also AFarmers Media on Instagram.
Yeah.
AFarmers.
Yeah.
Of course, you can be part of the story. You can give us a story of how things started for you, because I believe every business starts from a single idea.
Yeah.
And the difference between a successful farmer and the farmer who lags a little bit behind is information.
Sure.
How well you understand things. Before you did start chicken farming, what was in mind first?
Okay, my initial idea was not to rear chicken or to do the layering of layers, but unfortunately I had started with something else.
Yes.
Broilers, because I saw it as the fast moving business. So later on, that's when I decided, okay, there is this gap that there is a niche that I'm seeing where the production of eggs it have gone down, or where the market is, people are not like into that business so much in my local area. So I decided, okay, this is it. I'll start here. I'll try with 100 chicken first.
100 chicken.
100 chicken.
Oh, that was a good call.
But those 100 chickens, you first buy chicks. A week old chicks. So you start breeding them, rearing them, and then after some times, I lost few of them. You see,
did you anticipate losing some?
I felt like giving up also.
Oh, actually, way before you even started venturing into that.
Yeah.
Before you even bought the one week chicken, old chicks.
You see, the problem was to clear now the broilers.
Okay.
To bring in now the layers. Now, when you're trying to transit or to transition out to the new business, that's when you realize, okay, I did a mistake. I didn't learn from other people's mistake as a research to my as a reset back to learn how they did things. I didn't do that. I didn't even research on anything, Brian. I just went and
started doing it.
I started.
And actually, of course, today we're having a conversation about what farmers exactly do. Many farmers exactly do. You have an idea, you listen to the market, and then boom, you have some cash.
What I actually tell people now when they are going into venturing into any business, no matter how small or no matter how it is compared to other industries, sit down, read, do further investigation, and also ask those people who are in that field also. Because myself, I never asked. I just copied. Okay, this is how they package, this is how they feed, and this is how they make money.
Fair enough.
And that is it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And yesterday we had this conversation,
Yeah.
which was if you have a business idea, where do you start? Exactly. And we found out that one of the best ways to start is from the market.
Yeah.
Understanding the market.
Sure.
Just like the way you wake up and you're here by 6 a.m., you plan your time rolling back.
Yeah.
It's the same thing
Yeah.
with idea research. You start from the market,
Yeah.
understand the solution that you're going to provide,
Yeah.
understand how the market consumes. Maybe, for example, in a day, maybe the people around your locality do consume maybe 100 eggs.
Yeah.
If these 100 eggs are sold, then are there people who come and ask for more? So if you're a supplier aiming at that market, what are you bringing on board?
Actually, I'll tell you what drove me to starting that business. I saw there are these people, my pasua, they were youths around my area who were scholars. So they used to sell those stuff or the eggs, the boiled eggs in the evening. And at times they could go to the market late and find there are no eggs. You see, in my area, people always go to market 5 and at 8 everything is sold to the clients or to the customers. Now, when I saw that, I decided, okay, I'm not focusing on the higher end consumers. For these students, I can create a market where they can come, buy, and sell for themselves.
Yes.
And also, my target was students first. So actually, I got a market ready. You see, after that, that's when now people started knowing, okay, there is this and this person selling these eggs at this price.
Yeah.
But my price and the market price, there were no difference. Actually, I was selling at a price where the market was at the same. By then, it was 11 shillings. You see? But now this student, when they noticed, okay, this is it. And at times, someone could come, pick a tray, and then after some times, you get a call. I need another one. They are done. I'm finished with the one you gave me. As you're saying, you first check to the market on which part you're going to solve that problem. So I saw an opportunity from these students who are selling boiled, and I'm at work elsewhere. So I'd leave someone to help me at home and to sell for me.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, I realized, okay, this is a mistake because I could make loss and I didn't know how to account for that losses. You see? So research is something that you don't just do research because you've seen a niche or an opportunity to sell or to come up with a business idea. You need to package yourself considering a lot of things that are revolving around that business. Yeah.
Of course, you mentioned that way before you did start, you did your market research and identified the niche that you're going to solve.
Yeah.
Of course, did you have some data specifically from the market that first these are the consume, maybe we have there's a deficit, and then you can put some numbers onto the deficit, or was it just the general need of we're selling 10 eggs per day, but then somehow close to 10 people asking for it even after it's off the trolley?
Specifically, I didn't major on those selling on the trolley, because also these students around that school, as it was starting, there was no shop around.
Okay.
So they could go to the market. At times the shops are closed earlier. So I'm just neighboring this school. So this student can come by even some from 2 to around 10.
Yeah.
You see, at least I'm making a shilling or a coin there. So I did a research from the shop
From the shop itself.
and the market around it.
Okay.
So that's when I got the data, like this is how they are consuming, and this is much they can consume. So even if the production is low, at least I can manage to get to to where these people can manage or they can levelize.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So of course now you're off the market.
Yeah.
And you've identified a problem that is there, and you want to solve it.
Yeah.
And then, did you have some stories from different farmers?
I went to those who are like the pioneers of that business around now the county, because they are those people who are known. Like these are the pioneers of this kind of breed.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of breeds, and considering the place or Nairobi environment, the Nairobi community or the Nairobi metropolitan, this is how they consume. So he gave me a plan on how to execute that business from a bigger perspective, not from my locality. You see, now he opened up and told me, like, Mr. Mirara, this is not how business is done. You should check it on feeding this particular number or this particular margin of community living in this area, not considering the student. Assume the school is closed. What will you do? That is the question I was asked.
True.
You see, now I took that advice now to restructure now, sit down and restructure my plan. Considering now the weather and the condition of this particular breed, and now checking which breed will do better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course, Mirara, you're very much educated, and you're energetic yet.
Yeah.
And of course, before you did start this business, I'm sure you gave some time into the research,
Yeah.
both from the books and both from different farmers and the market also. What would you say is the time or the intensity that you gave that research? Because as you said, at some point you went copy pasted what other people did. On the magnitude, later you have been doing the business, you've changed a few things, and as I said, every farm has its own DNA. You can copy paste from another.
True,
there's always a reasoning as to why maybe their structures are facing the wind,
Yeah.
and maybe yours are not facing the wind. You did your own research.
Yeah.
What's at the beginning? What was the intensity on a scale of 0 to 10? What was the intensity you feel that you did your research, and right now, where do you feel out of 10?
I'd say at now, I feel like 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
Because I've learned from my experience and also other farmers' experience, and also interacting with these farmers, and also who those farmers who have failed. Because there are a lot of people out there. They have tried this and they have failed. So you learn from their mistakes. What did they do wrong? And where did they go wrong? You see? And also getting research from the expertise themselves. Because I'll tell you, around here we have a production of the small chicks, the kem chick in Kitengela. So I'd visit there at some point, and you see different chicks that can do well in these cold areas, the warm areas, and the hot areas. Because once they tell you now this is it, this is it, this is it, you get now to cut your part where the path which you will follow. Because Brian, if you learn from this, then tomorrow you repeat the same mistake. Definitely you're not learning.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
true.
So you get all those stakeholders in the industries not leaving out the losers. Because if you leave out the losers, there is no experience you're learning.
Yeah.
So I combined all that knowledge and also the research online and experiences from my past.
Let me ask you.
Yeah.
You talk about losers, and I'm trying to think that these are maybe people who did try the venture, and maybe they didn't perform as they did expect.
Yeah.
What are some of those stories that you had from different farmers, and they somehow hit you?
they brought in the breed or the business. They actually invested in the business, but they didn't give it their all. You see, they are doing it for money. Yeah. Also, what I learned in business, you have to have that passion in you, not just doing it because it's doable. You have to have that passion, something that drives you day in, day out, doing that business. You see, something that is pushing you from inside, not just doing it because there is money there.
Of course.
Yeah.
These people felt that they will push a little bit in terms of passion.
Yeah.
Okay. What was there a story that you're given and you felt that, hey, that's some big time discouragement right there? Was there a story that you're given from different farmers?
Some, but they didn't tell it all on part of their failure. You know, people don't accept failures. So I'd say most of them hides some the core thing of the failure, because that's what you will learn and you'll take to start the next venture. Yeah.
True. That's interesting, because yesterday we did mention that at times farmers do not actually tell the truth 100%.
Yeah.
Some farmers will not tell the truth. Some will be open with you.
Yeah.
Because I'm also a small scale.
You're not small.
Niko na tunguru tuwili tutatu mahali.
Yeah.
And of course, before we did start, I did visit a few farmers, and I will tell you the truth. We met farmers at different levels. There are those even with more than 200 pigs. There are those even with even 3-4 pigs, and this is even more interesting.
Yeah.
There was a lady. She's in Meru. There was a lady who was a lecturer in Chuka University. She quit her job to fully venture into pig farming.
Nice.
But then she told me that before she did fully venture, she made mistakes after mistakes after mistakes. This is what farmers won't tell you.
But she's doing it right now.
Right now, she did mistakes of close to 2 years, trial and error, and she lost a lot of money.
You see, for her, it's 2 years. She never gave up.
Yeah.
I tell you the honest truth today. I made almost to 1 year, trying until I made it. You see, once I sold like a whole inaitwaje ni wish ama ni filter, ilikuja ikasimama hapo, kujaza hiyo gari si mchezo. Tray moja zinajaa hapo. You see, when you see that, that's when you realize, okay, it's doable.
It's doable.
But mimi nilikuwa ule mtu wa kuproduce 5 trays to 10. But siku give up. Because at times unapata hata hizi nini zimekula mayai. You don't know what. You go Google.
It's lack of calcium, it's lack of something.
It's lack of this.
Yeah.
Saa zingine mpaka unaambiwa
Yeah.
it's feed, like the feed you feed.
Here the feed, it lacks some nutrients.
So and then you mix that feed with some supplements and stuff. It's still not working. You see, if I had to give up, I would have given up in the third month, because it was not bringing in profit. I was digging deep in my pockets, digging deep until now, when I realize, if I change this, if I do this, it's possible to continue and getting to learn each and every day what is good feed, what is what to dilute water with. If you want to get high yields, this is what you'll do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course. Yesterday we also did mention a little bit of the time. The feel good hormone. You know, you have some money here, and you've done some research. You feel as if you have the grip. You know, I know there's a deficit. Si niko na braids hapa, si ziko karibu. And for example, I have everything that I need.
Yeah.
You start. When you're right in the middle is when I start finding, what? Actually, there was a problem here. I didn't do enough research. And that's a situation where we find ourselves as farmers before we can start. Would you say that there's a specific time? How patient can you be with doing your research? How patient, according to your own experience, how patient can you be?
A good research would go up to 6 months. That I won't lie. Up to 6 months. Get that knowledge. Ask as many people as possible. The people you know they've tried, the people you know they have the knowledge, the experts in that field, and also not forgetting to put yourself in a practice in mind while you've not practiced in reality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a very key point that I've been thinking.
Yeah.
That you can start keeping chicken in your head first.
Yeah.
Before you can venture. You know?
You see, I was told that, and then I sat and thought, I'm like, why didn't I try this? Because you see, for me, I just transitioned from these. These are going broilers, but for this, it's not the chicken you're selling; it's the egg, the product of the hen. But now I have not read like this is it. I've just copied and pasted. I have no idea. I have not thought about it. I have not created a mind, a psychological mind where like I'm trying this. That's why I'm telling you. If you have to research widely, because if you're trying to research for like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, then the 4th month, trying rallying them or trying starting that business in your mind. Actualize it in your mind first. Then when you're coming to do it, you'll have a simple flow of the things that you're doing while they're in your mind. Yeah.
And that makes a smart farmer right there.
Yeah.
Of course, you know what else comes with a smart farmer? Planning yourself early.
Yeah.
And of course, at a time where, of course, there's so much heat, the weatherman is saying that the rains are not so far away from right now.
Yeah.
And of course, a smart farmer will always make sure that the seeds are well treated,
Yeah.
prepared early enough.
And they are ready.
Some have even started
Yeah.
planting.
Some have planted.
Some have planted already. And actually, if you're lagging behind a little bit, you can always ensure that you can catch up with others with some quality seeds. And what you need to do around that is make sure that you seed boost.
Yeah.
You boost your seed.
True.
You treat your seed. And once you treat your seed, it ensures that you have quality seed
Yeah.
that can take up nutrients
True.
from the soil once it's in the soil.
Yeah.
And of course, it's a message that we have always advocated for. The difference between you and another farmer is always the information.
Yeah.
Exactly what we're giving you here today, information. And of course, once you want to boost your seed, the best product that you can use in the market right now is Seed Boost from Omnia Nutrology.
Yeah, and it's very good.
Very, very perfect for that,
It's
business.
Yeah.
What it does, it ensures that once the seed is sprouting,
Yeah.
the root density is well catered for.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, it's a very amazing science that Omnia brings into the field.
Yeah.
And this ensures that your root density is well enough to take up nutrients from the soil. And just in case of, even in cases of lack of water, something here and there,
It's catered.
it's catered for.
Yeah.
The root is going to go deeper and look for water
And
by itself.
also the strongest root.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Strong
So
roots.
your plant won't be affected with the wind and stuff.
Exactly.
Shock.
Yeah.
I heard Mr. Noah saying there are soil. Was it soil shock?
Uh-huh.
I think something like that.
Yeah.
So your plant will be confident.
Yeah.
Will grow well, and the root will be strong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can always seed boost your seeds
Yeah.
early enough and start planting early, because how things are. Somebody told me that once you prepare yourself 1 month earlier than the rain-fed farmers,
Yeah.
you reach the market 1 month earlier than the farmers, and you're going to fetch very good prices. That's a secret that Mirara we should keep
Yeah.
with ourselves.
I
But then
think-
we're willing to share with the viewer and listener.
Yeah.
And of course, this message has been brought to you by Omnia Nutrology.
Yeah.
So you can always visit your nearest agrovet.
Yeah. And ask for Omnia.
Omnia Seed Boosts. Exactly.
Yeah.
And of course, you can also look into Omnia East Africa. Omnia East Africa. That information is brought to you by Omnia, and it's specifically created for East Africa.
Yeah.
Of course, Mirara, as we continue with the conversation, we've said there's a specific period that you should be patient. You should be patient with. Usipate pesa, hakuna kitu usumbua mwanaume kama pesa bana. Akiona pesa kwa mfuko,
Huwezi mwambia kitu. There is someone who told me, a man with a pride is a man with money.
That guy has achieved.
He has achieved. But once that money is gone,
yes,
manzi hakuna mtu ananyenyekea. That guy can wash even a toilet.
Yes.
Yeah.
To have the money.
Yeah.
Of course, it's really interesting. Of course, with the conversation today, research. Take time to do your research from the market to the quality.
You see, when you do your research, you're preparing yourself in the in pre-production and production.
During production.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because this time you learn a lot of things.
Yeah.
Considering weather, the climate, water retention in crops, water, how you're going to give your things water, production quality and production quantity, and even production duration of how long the production will take of this stuff. Even the labor you input also in this venture you're coming into.
It's very
You
important.
see, it's a wider thing that entails research.
Yeah, research.
You see, even the method. That's what I'm telling you. In methods you're going to take, this you've not tried something, but the method you're going to practice yourself. It's something you need to do research on.
And understand, have a grip of how things are done.
Yeah.
Not said,
Not
done.
just slide over.
Yes.
Over something like you. This is not swimming.
Yeah.
You know, swimming, you just dive in. When you get into water, that's when you know how to swim.
Yeah.
This is not it.
Somebody told me this, before we can take this short commercial break. Somebody told me this, that a driver, you know, somebody who just puts their hand on the wheel.
Yeah.
A driver is somebody who knows how to get themselves out of a crisis in case one happens.
True.
And it's the same thing as a farmer.
The same thing as a farmer.
You're not a farmer until you can prepare for the worst. And you can know how to come out from the worst.
Yeah.
Exactly.
True. That's very true. You cannot put yourself in a situation where you cannot get yourself out in that situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you need to prepare yourself early.
Do the research.
Do your research. Have a grip.
Yeah. Very well researched research.
Researched research.
Yeah.
Very well researched research.
Very well.
From the market to the pre-production to the production and even back to the market again.
Definitely.
Of course, Mirara, this is a very important conversation we're having here today. And also you can continue being part of this conversation on AFarmers on Instagram, AFarmers on Twitter, AFarmers on Facebook. And you can also be part of this conversation still on Africa Farmers Club and also on our YouTube. We did a feature with you. We went to Marsabit.
We did.
And
it's doing well
it's
in the YouTube.
It's really interesting.
People are watching it.
People are watching.
It's touching people's life.
Yeah.
Even when you tell someone to watch, you're very confident telling people to help those people. Actually, the campaign is still running.
It's still running.
Yeah.
It's still there.
Yeah. So people should watch that because when we tell people here to learn as a farmer, and you're not only feeding yourself, you're feeding the world.
Can I tell you one thing? Well, before we came to the show, I was in a long conversation and with somebody, with a CEO of one of the companies that do produce these UV light treated bags.
Yeah.
Now where you can plant as many seeds as possible within a very small space.
Yeah.
So she tells me that she watched the feature and she got very emotional. Among other women that they were watching with.
Yeah.
And people got emotional. Feedback that we got even from the different people from the Forgotten Bottom Million.
Yeah.
Well, people were really emotional about it. And you can also be part of that. You can watch it and give us your feedback. Comment down there. We're going to see your comment. And of course, we can relate with that. We're going to take a short commercial break. We'll be back in a few.
Food safety is everyone's responsibility, starting with the farmer. This means adhering to the correct pesticide recommendation for effective pest management. Apart from selling farm inputs aimed at increasing crop and livestock productivity, agro dealers advise farmers on how to use them responsibly.
Pesticides should be used in the right way. You buy the right pesticides, and if as a farmer you are not sure where to buy, at least you can contact your local county extension services who will be able to give you the right information on the type of pesticides that you need to buy based on the problem in the farm and how to actually mix it, or what we call dilution, and spray it, so that in the end we can all assure ourselves that the food that we are using or we are eating or we are going to harvest or grow are safe.
Agro dealers play a significant role in guaranteeing that farmers have access to some of the essential agricultural inputs that contribute to boosting agricultural productivity in a safe and environmentally sensitive manner.
Habari yako? Nzuri sana mama. Naendelea salama? Kwa salama sisi. Sasa mimi niko na shida. I have some diseased crops.
As an agrovet, when attending to farmers, ensure you ask the farmer as many questions as possible to correctly identify the farmer's problem. Most agro dealers are familiar with farming inputs and can therefore recommend a particular pesticide for a problem that a farmer may be facing. However, it is important for agro dealers to ensure that they get as much information as possible from a farmer before recommending a specific pesticide. By asking for background information like what kind of crop is involved, what kind of pest damage, what is the physical appearance of the pest, when and what kind of measures has the farmer already taken. Questions will inform the agro dealer on the nature and severity of the problem and the need for intervention to ensure that the recommendation of pesticide is effective.
Most farmers, I would say that they may not understand or they may not be able to read the labels. So this is the responsibility of the agrovet attendant to read the label and to interpret to the farmer, because the label has different instructions. It has instructions like the active ingredient of that pesticide. It has the mode of action of that pesticide. It has the rate of application of that pesticide. It has pre-harvest and pre-harvest interval of that pesticide. So if this information is not shared with the farmer will end up using the pesticide in the wrong way and also on the wrong crop.
Improper use of pesticides gives rise to potential health risks to both farmers, consumers, and is a risk to the environment. Make a pesticide recommendation based on pesticide efficacy and good farm practices as opposed to purely business reasons. Agrovets are businesses and should be considered as such. However, dealers should also beware that they have a duty towards the farmer and should endeavor to be truthful and trustworthy.
Dawa bora, mazao bora. What you plant is what you reap. And if from the onset dawa si bora, then definitely mazao si bora, because mazao is dependent on dawa. If we apply a good dawa, we are sure of good mazao and bump up harvest.
Advice on the kind of protective equipment to use when handling and storing pesticides to minimize exposure. As an agro dealer who is well versed with the proper use of pesticides, you should ensure that a farmer is aware of the safety procedures to follow when using a certain pesticide. Advise farmers on other IPM practices such as improved seed, fertility management, among other practices to reduce reliance on pesticides.
Integrated pest management, that is using all the methods that there are to ensure that you control your pest. You use all the tools that you have, whether they happen to be physical, like you are blocking the pest or the disease from coming to your farm. Like you can have barriers. Cultural ones, again, are also about excluding the pest or the disease. The other one is what we call biological. Amazingly, there are certain live organisms that feed on other live organisms. So in the biological control, you have a situation where an insect could be eating another insect. So you have the insect which is a good one, we call it a farmer's friend, or you have an insect which is the farmer's enemy, which is the pest. So basically you cause the farmer's friend to eat the enemy.
Other IPM techniques include crop rotation, intercropping, use of adequate fertilizer, and cultivation techniques. Remember, proper usage of pesticides increases yields and market access for your produce. Food safety is everyone's responsibility, starting with the farmer. Dawa bora, mazao bora.
Mahindi yamekuwa chakula kikuu katika sehemu nyingi za ulimwengu na jumla ya uzalishaji wa mahindi kuliko ile ya ngano au mchele. Mbali na kuwa mahindi ni chakula, pia hutumiwa kutengeneza ethanoli, chakula cha wanyama na bidhaa zingine. Kunayo mahindi ya gume, mahindi ya ganda, yani popcorn, mahindi ya unga na mahindi matamu. Mahindi yanalimwa sana kote ulimwenguni na kiwango kikubwa cha mahindi hutolewa kila mwaka kuliko nafaka nyingine yoyote. Shamba la mahindi linaweza kutayarishwa kwa kutumia njia za kawaida au za kilimo cha uhifadhi. Kilimo cha kuhifadhi ni pamoja na kunyunyizia dawa za kuulia wadudu zilizopendekezwa na wataalamu wa kilimo. Unaweza kutumia trekta au njia ya mikono kufanya kilimo cha mahindi. Ni muhimu kuandaa ardhi mapema ya kutosha kuruhusu magugu kukauka na kuoza kabla ya kupanda.
A very warm welcome back to Farm Drive here at AFarmers Media, where we connect, learn and grow. Of course, my co-host today is James Mirara. And my host Brian Wender.
There's someone who called me Marara. I'm not Marara. I'm Mirara.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Of course. Our names are always somehow. People always do things with names.
Yeah.
Jina ni ya kufanya
Kuza mtore. Yeah. And then
Pitapo, you'll be known by your deeds. Of
sure.
course. Today we're talking about this conversation of research, and of course you bring me in some experience, success, and also failures.
Yeah.
From starting up your chicken business,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, also I'm not badly off. Najua things happen pale in regards to starting up business.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I always believe, Mirara, that the best thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
you're given 100 minutes of your life,
Yeah.
to do something. You better spend close to 80 minutes strategizing how you're going to do it,
Mm-hmm.
instead of spending 80 minutes doing it and then 20 minutes strategizing,
Mm-hmm.
because you cannot see through the whole process,
Yeah.
and then it will be easy for you to implement.
Mm-hmm.
How many years ago did you start the business?
I'd say 5. Though
5
this
years.
is the 5.
This is the 5th year.
Yeah.
Of course, this is the 5th year.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it started just like any other idea.
It came as a wish because
As a wish.
it's something that I've seen people doing, and I asked myself,
Yes.
what's the difference between me and others?
Yes.
And it came at a point where you had no any other thing you're doing. You're just at home, and then while in the middle of it,
Yes.
that's when you get something to do. You see, now you're balancing yourself between now your business
Yes.
and this other business.
Yes.
So it's something that it's I'd say it's challenging.
Yeah.
When now you're not fully on your business.
Yes. And let me ask you, 5 years ago,
Yeah.
I'm sure the climate was better than right now.
Yeah.
And there's nothing good as talking about the risks. You know, we can never be like the ostrich that did bury its head to ensure that now that it doesn't see
Yeah.
other people, the people are not seeing it.
Yeah, sure.
You know, we cannot forget that risks. Actually, we were talking with Mr. Noah just a few days ago, I think 2 days ago, and he was telling us that agriculture is one of the least funded
True.
because of the risk factor.
Yeah.
It's one of the riskiest.
Yeah.
Today I've said it. One of the riskiest ventures. And of course, part of it is because of climate.
Yeah.
Part of it is because of the man-made risk, and of course, the market timings, risks, everything around risk. Specifically, I want us to break down some of the risks that you can expect in your business.
Yeah.
Climate change. 5 years back, the climate was not as it is right now.
Sure.
Some places had some water. Right now, kumekauka.
Yeah.
You know.
But unless tuwezi sema kumekauka kabisa unless you're doing maybe you're irrigating your farm.
Yeah.
You see, there are those farmers who don't rely fully on rain-fed farm.
Yeah.
Or rain-fed seasons.
Yeah.
There are those farmers who depend also on maybe irrigating their farms day in, day out. But what about this farmer who is not irrigating their farm?
Yeah.
You know, they have more risk than this other farmer. But both farmers have risks. Yeah.
What was the risk that you found out while at the stage where you are starting your chicken business? What was the risk assessment? What are some of the risks that you are aware of, and some that you learned later during the practice?
Okay, I knew the risk of losing these chickens, and the reason being, you're not guaranteed all of them would make to be the chicken of laying eggs, because as I told you, lately I lost over 200 chicks.
Yeah.
Because of something small, sawdust. It was wet. You see?
Yes.
And I've tried this for like 4.5 years, but I'm still losing some.
Yeah.
You see? So there are risks everywhere and at all times. It's not just when I'm starting, but also when I'm still doing it.
Let me even interrogate that further. Did you ever anticipate that while starting, you're going to find that part of the mortality rate of these quote unquote chicks will be accelerated because of wet sawdust? Did you see that?
I didn't see that.
You didn't see that
as much threat.
Yes.
I'd say as a threat to them.
Yes.
Compared to earlier.
Yes.
Because you see, when you're lighting lights to them and GCOs, you tend to think this sawdust will dry fast. But that's not the truth. These things will brood zitanini tu kwa kona moja. And
actually, that's what they do.
And suffocate themselves.
That's what they do.
You see, that's my worry when they go on one corner. So when this happened, it happened during the day when there is sun and lights are on, the heat bulbs, they're on. But I never thought sawdust will be a much threat to me. You see, I was fighting for them not to go to one corner, but I didn't notice the sawdust. If it's wet, it might affect them.
Let me ask you. You started with 100 chicken.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that's starting averagely, not low. 100.
I was not risking much, but I was risking.
You was risking.
Yeah. I was not sure if I'm ready for this, but I took the risk and tried.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
And this is a question that not many people will ask during research.
Yeah.
Will you advise somebody to still start with 100 chicken?
No. If you're going, start with over 500. Because for that 100, I remain with 60 something. You see? So even if I was risking, I went a loss. A bigger loss than I anticipated. So if you're going, go fully. Let whatever will happen, happen.
Don't you believe that it reaches a point where you can maybe think about starting small first, accessing and seeing the risk before putting such a huge number of chicken in hundreds in the same risk?
You can. I'd say yes. But now, after what I've seen, there are a lot of conditions that comes with weather, environment. You see, so when you're taking a lower risk, there is a lot that is waiting for you ahead. You see, and you're not aware of that. As Noah says, if you're doing something, start without doubt. So me, I'd say if I'm going for a risk that I know this is it, I won't do like 100 of them. I would do maybe 200 or 300.
Yes.
You see, because at the end of it, if I would benefit, if I would make profit, it's me who will profit.
Yes.
And if I'll get loss, it's me who will go loss.
Yes.
Depending on either way.
Now, of course, in every agribusiness venture, there's always the business and science side of it. And more of the business is what farmers we are a little bit guilty of, looking into an agribusiness venture, just like numbers, with numbers. Well, I can keep this chicken, they're going to give me these, and these. But then you never know that even your sawdust, as little as it is wet, it can affect the numbers that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Let's dig into the science, a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Remember, we're still in the research bit of it.
Yeah.
The product now you're offering, the inventory is more of the chicken.
Yeah.
That now give you those eggs that you're going to eventually sell. First, did you take time to learn the actual science that once it's born, first day, maybe you should put you should have a infrared bulb, maybe sawdust, a little bit of it, things like that. Did you how did you dig deep into the science? Because this is where things always now make farmers go back to where they started.
I'd say I did nil research on that, and that's where I went wrong on everything, because what I did research on, it's the production, the rearing, and the market part of it. For these things, how they are born, how they are reared and stuff, it's something that I assumed I'll be there. I'll learn, I'd see the disease and stuff, how they're behaving and stuff. I did nothing to do with science on the research. So that's, for me, I took it later to research on it. For the first, I didn't do the research. Yeah.
You didn't do the research?
I didn't do the research.
And of course, the first season is done. And I'm sure more of the science, the farmers understand it while in it.
Yeah.
Right inside it.
Yeah.
When did it ring to you that you need to do some proper science research?
It came to me. It was getting to rainy season back in 2019, 2018, around that time. So it was cold, and that's when I noticed. I was in the farm. I noticed, okay, they're behaving this way, and I need to understand now the science behind this, because even when there is heat, these things would just be behaving in a way. So that's when I went back to do the research. After I've failed, they are dying and they're not producing the normal number. You see, you suffer first and then now realize this is...
You're talking about suffering. What would you estimate is your suffering in terms of monetary wise? How much money did you lose the first year?
Close to 100K.
Close to 100,000.
Yeah, because I was just buying feeds, writing, this is what I've used. You see, but the income of it, I wasn't getting anything, because these eggs, even if is to get a profit of 1 bag of feed to buy, they couldn't reach to that amount. So after I did my mathematics, I lost close to 100.
100,000 down the drain.
And mind you, this money, I didn't have it in my pocket. It was a loan.
That was a loan?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I have to pay it, and I'm not getting
nothing from the farm.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. And actually, it's also part of the things that we have been talking about, starting up with credits, which we were somehow discouraged to start businesses with credits. And more so for startups, like the one that you did, of course, very high risk. But, you know, I'm here asking myself this question. First year, 100,000 down the drain. Second year, how do you wake up?
The second year, I think I was funding the business from the other business I was doing. Until close to the end of that year, that's when I started now receiving back. And maybe I'd say close to 2% of the total investment. You see, monitoring my business, it wasn't also in my mind. So I wasn't able to monitor it well at that point. Until now, I started making money. And I think is one of my relatives asked, how are you running this business? You see, for them, I think they were running a company in Westlands, an IT firm. So he told me, you need to account everything so that you know what you're making and what you're losing. You see, I didn't have idea of doing all that. So when he enlightened me on that, I did a quick accounts of stuff, and then I realized I'm making more losses than I am getting. So I started bookkeeping and stuff, so that I know what I'm making and what I'm losing. So and also there was a veterinary close around across the road from where I stay, or where the farm is. So I asked him, so for you've been in this industry for long, selling this pesticide medicine and stuff. What would you tell me to do, or what would you advise me to do for these chickens to be profitable? So he told me he cannot advise me unless I go now to the other people who have been into this business to learn the mistakes and to learn the achievements they have occurred, or the losses that they occurred to